Yes, very good morning, children. How are you? And welcome to the second important chapter in our ninth standard, that is people as resource. The important effort what we are making here to introduce this chapter to explain how population is an asset rather than a liability. That means the population is not a burden. A population for every country or any country is an asset. How the population will become an asset for any country? The second important thing what you have to understand, that is the population becomes human capital. Population becomes human capital. How population becomes human capital? When there is investment on education, training and medical care. Try to understand. When government keeps investment on what? Education, training and medical care, the population becomes human capital. Understood? So then you have to understand what is human capital. So human capital means the stock of skill, productive knowledge, the stock of skill and productive knowledge included in human beings. That means whenever you increase the number of people who have got good skills, the number of people who have got productive knowledge in the country, that means in our country the human capital is actually increasing. So human capital is nothing but the investment particularly on that is what the stock of skill and productive knowledge included in human beings is called human capital. What is human capital? The stock of skill and productive knowledge included in human beings. That means you have to increase the number of which type of people? The people who have got skills, the people who have got productive knowledge. So how is it possible to increase the stock of skilled people, stock of productive knowledge people? Whenever you concentrate more on increasing literacy rate, providing education, then automatically you may have such kind of people. Understood? So what we discussed so far, the important aim of introducing this, the second chapter in ninth standard economics, is to explain the population is not a burden, not a liability. Just population is an asset. How population will become asset? And the second important thing what I told you, the population becomes human capital. When population becomes human capital? When the government keeps investment on education, training and medical care, then the population becomes human capital. And what is human capital? That is the stock of skill and productive knowledge included in human beings, or embodied in human beings. That is called human capital. So try to understand clearly that human capital is nothing but the government has to increase more and more investment, particularly on education, research, training and skill formation. That is called human capital. So in which country, or which country concentrates, which country increases the human capital, automatically in that country the population will become more productive, automatically the country progress. Then the last important thing in this introduction, what you have to understand, that the how the population become a resource. How population become a resource? The first important one, in our country, that you can see two important divisions in population. What are the two important division? The first important one, children. The second important one, working population. And third important one, aged. What are the three categories in this is called population composition. In population composition, whom do you see? Children, that is 0 to 14 years. Next, working population from 15 to 59. then 60 and above. So this is called population composition. So in this population composition, particularly children and aged, generally they depend on others. Whereas this working population actually work for the production of the country. They produce the goods and services. They only responsible for increasing our country's income. So the first important thing, how population become resource means, without working population, without this group, can you imagine the production of goods and services? No. That's why how population become a resource means, in our country the working population actually, that group actually working for the production of goods and services. This is the first important thing, how population become a source, how population become a resource. And the second important thing, their contribution to GDP is much significant. It's very important. Whose contribution? Working population's contribution to GDP. What is GDP? GDP means, that is gross domestic product. What is gross domestic product? It is the value of goods and services produced in the country. Nothing but country's income. Is nothing but what? Country's income. So what is GDP? The gross domestic product. It is nothing but it is the value of all final goods and services produced within the country. It is nothing but country's income. So unless the working population work, is it possible to increase the country's income? It is not possible. That's why one side they are working, they are producing goods, another side they are increasing the country's income. In that way the population become a resource. Understood? So this is what the population become a resource. And finally you have to see how the important how the population will become a resource, and what are the important results if the government concentrate more and more on human capital per capita. So in this situation only you have to distinguish between two things, that is a physical capital formation and human capital formation. We have to understand two important terms here, that is, one is physical capital formation and another one is human capital formation. What is physical capital formation? That is, even in the previous chapter you discussed what capital includes. Capital includes money, machinery, buildings, tools, raw materials, equipment, all. So whenever the number of these tools, machinery, buildings, equipment all increase in the country, that is called physical capital formation. Understood? What is physical capital formation? Whenever the number of machinery, number of goods, number of tools, number of equipment increase, that is called physical capital formation. What is human capital formation? Nothing but whenever you increase the number of people, the people who have got skill, whenever you increase the skill, whenever you provide more skill, whenever you provide more training, whenever you provide more such facilities, that is called human capital formation. So how is it possible to do all this? By increasing, by concentrating more on education. Understood? So what is human capital formation means? That is, you have to concentrate more, you have to increase the number of skilled people, trained people. That means you have to invest more and more on skill development. You have to invest more and more on training of people. Whenever you get such people, automatically they work for the production of goods and services, their productivity will increase, their incomes will increase, automatically country's income will increase. So that is what human capital formation. So in physical capital formation, in what you are keeping investment? You are keeping investment to increase the number of machinery, number of tools, number of the buildings. In human capital formation, on what you are actually keeping investment? You are keeping investment, you are spending money for increasing the skill of people, for providing better training, for research purpose. You are spending money. That is called human capital formation. So that also you have to understand in the introduction. So far what we discussed, the main objective of introducing this chapter is to explain that population is an asset, not a liability. And second important thing, the population becomes human capital. When the population become actually human capital, because whenever the government concentrate on education, training and medical care. What is human capital means? The stock of skill and productive knowledge embodied or included in human beings, that is called human capital. Then I told you that how the population become a resource. The population become resource, that is when working population work for the production of goods and services, and also their income is much significant for the country's income. That means one side they are working, one side they are giving money to the country's income. With their production only, with their working activities only, the country's income is increasing. And next I explained you two important terms. Those are physical capital formation and human capital formation. The physical capital formation means the government invest to increase the number of machinery, buildings, equipment, tools. That is called physical capital formation. Whenever such arrangements are made in the country, that is called physical capital formation. And in the country, human capital formation also should take place. What is human capital formation means? We have to concentrate more on skill development, training and research. That is called physical human capital formation. Now let us see what are the examples. That means when government concentrates more, whenever the government increases the human capital formation, what are the important results? The two important results you have to observe. One is green revolution and another one is IT revolution. Two important results. What are those? Two important. That is green revolution and another one is IT revolution. The first important green revolution I told you already. One is green revolution and another one is IT revolution, that is information technology revolution. So what happened in green revolution? The government spend more amounts on research and training and innovation. So whenever government spend more and more amounts on such things, the people continuously did research and they introduced what? The high yielding variety seeds. High yielding varieties. That means the seeds which will give high yielding, higher productivity. Such seeds were introduced. Such training was made, given for the people. So automatically what happened in our country? The production of goods and services increased rapidly. Even I told you that green revolution was called white revolution because particularly not, that is what, wheat revolution. White revolution is different, of course. That is white revolution refers milk production, increase in the milk production. So that was also made because of investing more and more on training and research. This green revolution was called wheat revolution because of concentrating more and more on increasing the production of wheat. The production of wheat increased rapidly after green revolution. So basically what you have to understand, whenever government concentrate more and more on research, training and and skill formation, automatically the people will become more skilled, trained, and automatically they work for the higher productivity. So in 1960s, what happened? Because of Green Revolution, because of such skilled people, trained people, the people who did more research in our country, the food grain production increased rapidly. Then the IT revolution took place in the 1990s. So even in case of information technology, more changes have taken place in our country. Even you may feel wonder that earlier days, the first, in order to launch the first rocket, first satellite into the space, the bullock cart was used by the ISRO. So that was the technology. Now other countries are asking Indian government to launch their satellites into the space by using our rockets. In such a way, there is more improvement, more change in technology, information technology. So information technology and science and technology, there are more changes because of investing more and more on research and training. These are the important two results which have taken place because of human capital. Understood? Now let us see what are the classification of activities. Yes, children. See, so after explaining the importance of human capital formation, just take Japan's example. So Japan, the Asian country which is situated in the southeast part of our world map, can you say Japan is agriculturally developed? How their per capita income increased? How it became a developed country? Does Japan has the natural resources like us? No. Japan is actually full of some volcanoes. You cannot find agricultural land. But how Japan became developed country? Because of human capital formation. That means the Japanese government concentrated more, invested more on education, research and training. They have imported some important raw materials from other countries and they manufactured a finished good and they sold those goods to other countries. And if you see the world history, Japan played important role in the Second World War. Even though it is a small country, Japan is a small country in Asia, group of 4 islands. But Japan defeated Russia, world's largest country, in 1905. That is called Russo-Japanese War. So why I am telling all this? Because of human capital formation, because the government whenever concentrate more on research, training and development, whenever human capital increases, automatically the country progress, country's income will increase. For that only we have taken Japan's example. You can see this even in our textbook also. And coming to the division of economic activities. What is economic activity? Economic activity means the activity which is done to earn our livelihood. So whom do you find around you? Some are doing agriculture, some are teachers, some are doctors, some are going to industry. Why they are going? Why they are doing all this? To earn money. Why should we need? Why do we need money? To get goods and services. Why should we use goods and services? To satisfy our wants. That is the final aim. So the activities which are done, the activities which take place to earn money, those activities come under economic activities. These are all the different occupations, different professions. So the people who actually participate in such economic activities are called economic agents. Who are those? Economic agents. We are all economic agents. Why? Because we are participating in different types of activities. What are those different types of activities? Those come under production, consumption, exchange, distribution. These are all different economic activities. Some people may participate production, consumption, exchange, distribution. All these are all economic activities. As we are participating in economic activities, we are called economic agents. Understood? So in any economy, those activities are classified into three types. Those are the first important one is primary activities and secondary activities and tertiary activities. What are the three types of activities? And those are termed as a sector. Particularly what? Primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector. Which activities come under primary? Particularly agriculture, poultry, mining, agriculture, poultry, mining, fishing. So all these come under primary. Understood? Next, what to come under secondary? Manufacturing activities. Manufacturing of what? Manufacturing of small scale industries, medium scale industries, large scale industries. So the activities of small scale industries, medium scale industries, large scale industries all come under secondary sector. That means industrial activities come under which sector? Secondary sector. Then tertiary sector, that is all services. See, in order to develop the primary as well as secondary, what we need? We need some important facilities. What are those? Transportation, power, communication. Next, see all these banking, insurance, all these come under tertiary services. So in our country also you can find all these as a part of this economic activity. So some people are engaged in primary, some people are engaged in secondary, some people are this third is also called service activities or service sector. Understood? So this is the division of economic activities. So primary activities, secondary activities and tertiary activities. You cannot imagine that all people engage, the total population engaged in primary. So the basic difference regarding these activities between developed countries and developing countries like India, the developed countries like America, Germany, Japan, all these countries you can find the secondary and tertiary activities are more. More population depend on secondary and tertiary, particularly in Japan, Germany, USA, Britain, France, Switzerland, all these countries. But developing country like India, in our country, nearly 51.1% of the population still depend on primary, still depend on agriculture. But if you take all the developed countries, the population generally depend on primary sector is less than 5%. That means which sectors are playing important role? Secondary and tertiary sectors are playing important role. Okay. Now let us see how there is division, how there is difference in case of earning money. Let us see now. Yes. So after observing the three important activities, let us see what are the two types of economic activities. There are two types of economic activities you can see here: market economic activities and non-market economic activities. What are market economic activities? Market economic activities are the activities which are performed for payment or profit. That means the activities which are actually done by expecting some profit, by expecting some money, such activities are called market economic activities. That means the people who participate in the production of goods and services, generally they get income. Some people may get profit. So such activities come under what? Market economic activities. But what are non-market economic activities? Non-market economic activities means you cannot expect any pay or any profit. Such come under non-market economic activities. So what are the examples? See, our mother actually providing different kinds of services in home. For such services, are you paying money? For example, just now you have ordered a cup of coffee to your mother. Just mother brings that cup of coffee to you. Can you give money? No. If the same coffee is ordered in a hotel, you have to pay money. So that is come under market economic activity. But that is the services which are provided by all women, particularly households, particularly these people who are serving the children, who are serving the house, all those activities come under non-market economic activities. That's why in economics there is a definition for working women. For working women, that means the women who are paid. The women who are paid, those are our working women. They get money for their services. So mother actually providing different kinds of services, but mother is not getting any kind of money. Such activities come under non-market economic activities. So in such a way, there is a difference in economic activities. Even not only that, even in case of women, people who are working in unorganized sector, they are having more and more differences. What are such differences? Let us see. Particularly the women who are working in unorganized sectors, particularly their wages are low. Number one. And also there is wage difference between men and women, and there are no leaves like maternity leave, health purpose leaves. So such leaves are not there. So even in case of wages also there is discrimination between men and women, particularly which sector? Unorganized sector. How is it possible to avoid? Whenever women are educated, whenever women are provided good education, automatically they can command for good wages. So nowadays we are observing. Just take one example, that is the women who are working in software field, they are getting the equal amounts of remunerations along with the men. That means which is playing important role, dominant role? Here the education plays important role. So that's why in case of human capital, the government concentrates more on education. Whenever government concentrates more and invests more on education, automatically the people are trained, people are experienced, people get good skill. With that, automatically they can get good incomes. Automatically the country's income will increase. So that is what actually we have to observe. Now let us see how education, health all play important role as a part of human capital.